morning, everybody. I hope you're well. We've got beautiful sunshine here in Yorkshire. My name is Venetia Wrigley, and I'm a trustee of Racing Welfare, and my particular interest is the welfare of racing staff, both in work and those who've retired. It's something I feel absolutely passionate about, and maybe I've spoken to one or two of you. I do hope so. This is my husband, Nicholas, who is going to talk to you about Aintree last week.
Morning, everybody. As you can tell, Venetia's in charge, so I'll do what I'm told. So I've been given my instructions to talk about Aintree, so I will. So my name's Nicholas Wrigley. I have had a long and enjoyable career in racing. I started as a director of Pontefract Racecourse, where I'm still a director. Then I joined the board at York, where I was very lucky to become chairman, and I was chairman for 6 years. And then I became senior steward of the jockey clubs. So I stood down as chairman of York, but I remain on the York Race Committee, which I thoroughly enjoy. I then, after I'd finished as senior steward, I joined the board of both the National Stud and Aintree. And to my great sadness, two of my greatest friends, the Duke of Roxburgh, as chairman of the National Stud, died. And so I sadly took over from him. And then dear Rose Patterson died last year. And so I was catapulted into the chairmanship of Aintree. So I think the message is, don't have me on your board in case something untoward happens to you. Aintree last week was a surreal experience, really, in the sense that we had the most wonderful racing. I hope you all were able to watch it. A really, really wonderful racing with some wonderful horses. We were blessed to be able to have 6 owners per race back again, per horse back again, and that made a huge difference. And we had 200 owners there on the Thursday, 250 on the Friday, and 400 on the Saturday, and they were wonderful and created a bit of an atmosphere. But it really wasn't the same without 70,000 people there. And can you imagine just how exciting it would have been to have 70,000 people greeting Minella Times and Rachel Blackmore? I think it was, without doubt, such a wonderful result for racing and for Rachel. I mean, really superb. She's such a nice person. I was lucky enough to speak to her just after the race, before the presentation. And she was just, she couldn't believe it. I've never seen anyone so wide-eyed and incredulous, but at the same time, beautifully mannered and calm and really nice. So the race meeting itself was wonderful. The racecourse team produced wonderful ground. I'm a great believer that one needs to have ground on the soft side of good, especially at this time of year, which takes some doing, because obviously having rained all winter, it suddenly got a drought. But it was wonderful. And Suleika, it was her first national as clerk of the course, and she produced really good, safe ground. And as a result, we had great racing, horses in the main. One broke down, sadly, on the flat and had to be put down, but the ground was good and safe. We had some seriously top-class horses, as well as Minella Times, the winner of the National. We were very lucky to have Shishkin, who achieved the double of winning the Arkle and then winning at Aintree, which takes some doing with just 3 weeks apart. It was a lovely meeting, overshadowed, sadly, by the loss of Rose Patterson, and her family very bravely came and spent much of the week with us, remembering Rose. She was a lovely, lovely lady, I mean, truly lovely lady who was passionate about all matters of racing, particularly racing staff, looking after them, and also horse welfare. And she was a great believer in helping women in all aspects of life, and was responsible for creating the Grand Women's Summit, which took place this year virtually, with Evie, her daughter, making a wonderful speech. If you're more technically able than me, you can probably find it on the internet. I can't, but it really was lovely. And Rose would have been so pleased and proud of Rachel winning. And you can almost feel, and I'm getting rather sort of sentimental, but you could almost feel Rose parting the horses so that Rachel had a dream run through. You know, it was really a great meeting. So that's all I was going to say about Aintree. If anybody has anything to ask about it, please do. But really, given where we were with the terrible goings on before Cheltenham, then to have the massive success of Cheltenham followed by the massive success of Aintree has really, I believe, you know, put racing back on the front pages of the paper for all good, positive reasons, and you know, really has been a massive success. Now, that's my bit. I'm going to hand over, darling. You better do some talking, and I'll have a cup of tea.
Okay, so I think I'd better start with how I got into racing. I first got into racing because my father bred horses and had a lot of horses in training, and I went to York Racecourse as a little girl, aged 8, with my father on my own, and I fell madly in love with York, and I'm still madly in love with York. I think it is the most beautiful racecourse, produces wonderful racing, and just can't wait to get back there. I rode as a child, did all the pony club things. I then travelled hugely. I didn't go to university, and I worked in Australia, worked in Nepal, never did anything with horses, did completely different things. And then I was lucky enough to come back to England and marry Nicholas, and I started riding again. Again, didn't ride racehorses, but then the York Charity Race came along, and Liddy Bethel, my great friend, did it the first year. And I turned to Nicholas and said, I'm going to do that. So I then tackled poor old Richard Fahey and said, please, can I come and ride out? And he was a bit dubious, quite rightly to start off with, having a granny in the camp.
He was very nervous, I think it'd be fair to say.
And so I set off in February 2013, riding out for him. And I was very wobbly, and I was looked after by the most wonderful man called Con, who was incredibly kind to me and gave me all the tips about what I should do and what I shouldn't do. I'm not going to lie, I got bolted off with, I got run away with, I landed at the bottom of the tree at the top of the gallop, but I managed, thanks to Tom O'Ryan, to get fit enough to actually ride in the race. And I was lucky enough, I rode this lovely horse called Extraterrestrial, known as E.T., and I won it. And it was the most fantastic experience. And based on that, a year later, I then decided with my son that we would ride in the Newmarket Town Plate. That was a completely different matter, because that, of course, is 4 miles. And I really struggled to get fit for that, but I've no idea whether I was fit enough, because I rode my homebred pointer, who didn't really get 4 miles, but we thought we could sort of stretch it on the flat. He went back into training with Clive Story and Sandy Foster, and they, between them, produced Boy in Bangkok and Gunner Jack, who'd had a very successful point-to-pointing career. And Eddie and I scrambled onto them, and off we went down to the start, which is, of course, in the National Stud. And we rode happily, very happily, through the National Stud, onto the July course and up the July course. And I have to say that riding up the course on the July course is one of the best experiences I've ever had. It was simply wonderful. I wasn't placed. Shakefar had won the race, and it was all fantastic. But you know, a great experience. And I continued to ride out for Richard until 18 months ago, when something happened to stop me. But I'm hoping I'm going to go back again. Poor Richard. I hope he isn't listening. Otherwise, it'll be shaking. So we, between us, I think, would say that York is possibly our favourite course, or maybe the Newmarket July course where we courted?
Goodness me, that was a long time ago. It might have been my favourite course then, but I'm not certain now. I got involved into racing. My parents lived in the Far East, and I went racing with my father in Bangkok, which was a pretty surreal experience again. And then I used to spend 2 of my holidays a year with my grandmother in Yorkshire, and I used to spend the Easter holidays and the Christmas holidays. And she was passionate about racing, and I would come back from school, and the first thing I'd do before I'd unpacked anything was I'd be put in the car and we'd go off, and it normally coincided with the Lincoln meeting at Doncaster, which was in those days was 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we'd go racing every day. And then the following week it used to be Beverley and Thirsk and whatever, and I spent the whole month on the racecourse, which was great fun for me. I learned all about maths in terms of how to lose money, betting, and no matter, even when I was sort of doing O-levels and A-levels and I had lots of revision to do, Granny used to say, don't worry, I think racing's much more important. And so off we'd go racing. So that's where my love came from. I'm very lucky with Venetia that it's a shared passion, and so it's something we do together, and something we really enjoy. The joys of the highs and lows of racing with the winners and then the losers and all the excitement is something that is a shared passion which we thoroughly enjoy and spend our lives doing. And in fact, I'm going to Ripon today, where I got a small interest in a horse which is running there, and so being able to get back onto the racecourse to see your horses run is wonderful, and so that's made a huge difference, being allowed to do that. And I'm sure we all agree the day when we can all go racing properly and see our friends and do whatever we like, it's going to be a memorable day and something we really look forward to. We've had some spectacular days racing. We've been unbelievably lucky. We're paying for it at the moment. We can't get a winner for love nor money, and our horses either come nearer the back or they come second. And so I can't, it's sort of, I think it's 15 months since we've had a winner. So we're hoping we might get one today, but you never know. We had our son, when he was at university, was very keen on point-to-pointing and was desperately keen to get involved. And so we started with a sort of nearly very retired safe point-to-pointer who gave us our first point-to-point winner. He's currently outside in the field enjoying the sun and the grass. And we then spent most of our winters, our son was at Edinburgh University, driving up to Scotland to watch him race. And he was really enthusiastic, loved it. Poor Clive Story, who Venetia mentioned earlier, he trained the horses, he trained the jockeys, he trained us what to do, what not to do, and we just had a brilliant time. And the highlight of that was one day at the end of the season, the horses always came back from Scotland to spend the summer here at Grass, and they all were put in the box and brought down, and then we collect them halfway. And this day they came to Hexham. All 4 of them. We had 4. That was the most we ever had. We had 4, and we decided we'd run all of them, 2 in one race and the other 2 in separate races. And you wouldn't believe it, but we won each of those 3 races. So we had a treble, and it was just
magical. It was completely magical.
We couldn't believe it. Each race came. I mean, the great thing was our poor son chose Boy in Bangkok, who Venetia mentioned, and got the wrong one in one race. So whilst we had a treble, we never stopped telling him that he only had a double and that he was a useless choice. And we still mob him up on that. And then another magical day, and we have been very lucky, was when we
had 4 touches.
Had 4 touches. We had another touch, right touch, innocent touch, and don't touch, and we took all 4 of them to air on Gold Cup Day, and it was really amazing. We just couldn't believe it, because one by one they won, and another touch won the nursery, right touch won a nice handicap, and then Joy of Joys, don't touch, won the Air Gold Cup to continue his unbeaten record. By which stage, I gather, not having had a bet myself, but many others had, that the bookmakers were facing a huge payout. And Innocent Touch, who should have been about a 16-to-1 shot, started just about favourite. Anyway, a jockey who will remain nameless was told to be up with the pace, dropped him out the back, and he ran on and finished 5th. And afterwards, I said to him, "Who do you think you are on? Were you on? Did you think you were riding Nijinsky?" And he looked rather blankly at me. And Richard Fahey said, "Look, he's far too young. He wouldn't know who Nijinsky was. If you'd mentioned Frankel, that might have made sense." So I got that one wrong, which showed my age. So, you know, we have been phenomenally lucky. We have had lots and lots of fun, and that's what racing's about. It's about having fun and enjoying it, and it's something that we've been blessed with, really. Now then, let's see what. Yes, Peter Drabble has said that Liverpool was the first race meeting he went to in 1960. It was mixed racing then, and that Lord Derby had his own private stables. I can remember as well, Peter, when it was flat racing as well, and used to love it. And if you remember, Red Rum ran in and I think won the Cellar at Aintree on the flat, and then obviously went on to create history by winning 3 times in the National. As chairman, I keep threatening the clerk of the course to go back to flat racing, as I think it would be wonderful to have a sort of summer festival at Aintree in midsummer, and have 2 days of racing, because it's a wonderful city who embrace their racing and enjoy everything to do with it. But I think it's just too difficult. The race course is quite constrained, and the ground we have to take care of, and that's why we only race 7 days a year, just to make sure that the ground is perfect for the national meeting.
We don't have the same problems at York.
No, York's brilliant. I mean, York's been very kind to us, as well as being the scene of Venetia's great victory. It's also, we've been lucky to see some amazing horses at York over the years. I remember Mill Reef winning the Jim Crack as a 2-year-old in unbelievably heavy ground. He sluiced through it and won by a country mile. Brigadier Gerard getting beaten by Roberto. Braulio Biza was the jockey, and never forget it. I can't remember what happened yesterday, but I can remember that. Winning, losing the Benson and Hedges. And then while we were in the chair, See the Stars won, which was he was a lovely horse. And then the Mighty Frankel and Henry Cecil, when we had those very, very memorable but sad days, as Henry was clearly not a well man, but Frankel kept him going. And it was just a joy to see Frankel win. And it's one of the sights, I'll never forget that camera angle of the horses coming, and then you just see Frankel just steaming past them with a turn of foot, the like of which I've never seen. So really wonderful. So York has been very special to us, and really can't wait for the Dante meeting in middle of May. And, we've been lucky to get some of the Derby winners come and race there. And most have won until I think it was work. What was it called? The Jugmont.
Workforce.
Workforce was placed, which broke the hoodoo of place horses winning. So let's hope we get some good Derby horses come for the Dante, which is what
it's the 11th of May. 11th or 12th of May. Yeah. So very, very, it's the 12th of May.
12th of May.
So it's very close. So
not long now. Sadly, it's just before the next stage of lockdown reduces. But it's just wonderful. Now then, I've been asked a very difficult question.
I've been asked.
You've been asked a difficult question. Okay.
Well, I'm going to answer for me because it's a different answer. Sophia, thank you for asking that. It's a really difficult question. I grew up being passionate about the flat.
You have to tell what it is.
So we've been asked, do you prefer jump or flat racing? So we both grew up going flat racing, and I'm not going to answer for Nicholas, but I struggle with the answer to that question because I actually adore the jumps, and what I like is racing throughout the year. So because it really keeps you going. I always feel very sad at the end of the flat season. The last meeting at Newmarket is always, I think, no more racing. But we, with Eddie point to pointing, we really got stuck into the jumps because Eddie did ride once over under rules, where in a 3-horse race where he was the rank outsider, and he managed to win because the ground, it was a hunter chase because the ground was so soft. And the hot favourites owner came up to me and said, I just don't understand it. I mean, I just don't understand it. I mean, why have you won that race? How have you won that race? Anyway, it was really rather embarrassing, but that was one of Eddie's proudest moments. And luckily, Nicholas has also embraced my love for the jumps, and we have we've had a few jumpers with Mick Easterby, and I suspect we'll be getting we might have 1 or 2 more. But our Peter Easterby and Tim and Will found us a lovely horse called Morozov Cocktail, who we're quietly just enjoying because he's been placed, and he might run again if we get some rain, but I doubt that we will get rain. So he'll just be roughed off. So we're just bringing him along quietly and enjoying the fact that he's enjoying his racing. So over to you. And
Innocent Touch, who I mentioned there, he went off. Richard won a hurdle race with him, and then he went to Henry Daly, and Henry won 4 races with him, I think.
Yes.
Was it 4 races?
Yes, 3 at Stratford.
2 at Stratford. 2
at Stratford.
And we had a huge amount of fun, and we've got a bumper horse with Henry, which was second at Haydock the other day. I tell you proudly it was second. I should also say there were only 3. And he's huge, and so I don't think we'll see him again this season because I think the ground, it's pretty rattling quick at the moment, and he really shouldn't run on anything other unless it's got
a lot of soft
in it. So we love it all, to be honest. If you put a gun to my head and said, would I prefer the going to the Judgmont at York or the Grand National at Aintree, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I think probably my heart would say that the stress of 9 minutes at Aintree is too much for me, and my ticker I get very nervous. Not about, and it's a sad state of affairs now where we reach where I watch the race and I only look at the back to see the fallers and to make sure that the horses and the jockeys are okay. And I barely look at the front because I'm worrying too much about what's happening at the back, which is right. But it does. When I was very young, I didn't have to worry about that. I loved seeing the pile up at Foynhaven at the fence and what have you. Now I would be absolutely mortified. So it just shows how things different. Now, Marilyn wants to know how Venetia got involved with racing welfare.
Oh, well, it's a very short story. I've always been interested in welfare, and I was very lucky. Joey Newton just rang me out of the blue one day and asked me if I would be a trustee of racing welfare. And it's one of the best things I've ever done because it has brought me closer to the coalface, and I feel that what Racing Welfare does is absolutely fantastic. And the fact that we look after so many people and we care so much about so many people is really something to be very proud of. And as long as Racing Welfare will have me, I will be involved with them, because like Chloe, I like talking to people and can talk the back legs off a donkey.
As you may have noticed, she can talk.
Oh, look, boots are off.
Peter, thank you. Peter has said, great times with Boots are off. Boots are off was a horse bred by my father, which was trained by Jimmy Fitzgerald, and was a 2-mile chaser. And he won on Grand National Day. He won the 2-mile chase at Aintree on Grand National Day. I can't tell you how many years ago.
It was when we were in Australia.
No. Long before. You weren't around. Sorry, it was life before you, and it was a most wonderful occasion. It's probably the biggest regret I have, in the sense that I was working hard, and my dad said, "Come on, let's go," and I said, "Oh, no, I'm so tired," and blah blah blah, and I didn't go. And you know, it's like everything in life, you regret the things you didn't do, not the things you did. And I really, to this day, I should take to my grave the regret that I wasn't there to see Boots Rock winning at Aintree, because I think and fear that's probably as close as I'll ever get to a winner at Aintree. So it was a big mistake. So you've got to live for the moment and leap in and take the opportunities while they're there. But can I just say that, you know, Venetia is and I share this passion for Racing Welfare. We think it's a remarkable organisation which does a huge amount of good, and cares for people. And Dawn and the team do a great job. So, you know, we're delighted to support it in any way. One of the things that we really enjoy is the Malton Open Day.
Yeah.
So that's your cue. So you're meant to talk about that.
Malton Open Day is revived thanks to Tim Fitzgerald. I've got a great team helping, and it is getting bigger and bigger by the year. And this year I'm going to be there in my role as High Sheriff of North Yorkshire. So I hope you're all as many of you who can will come along and join us.
When is it?
And it is Sunday, the 12th of September. And the yards open at 9:15, and then there's lots of activities in the afternoon on Tim's gallops, which he so generously donates to us for the afternoon. There's stalls, there's pony club games, and there's team events between the yards, and it's really good fun. So I hope you'll come.
It's good fun, and it's a great opportunity. And let's hope Malton has some huge success this year. And there's some lovely horses that we all want to go and have a look at and get up close to, because I think that's one of the great joys, is to being able to go and see the horses that we've followed from afar and actually see them with their heads in their yards with their heads over the stable door. It's a great thing. Now, my love, have you got any more questions?
Why so racing? Your proudest achievement in racing.
Well, you are my proudest achievement, winning the York charity race. That was wonderful. All our family were there. We have a daughter who's we have 2 daughters and a son, and the middle daughter gets quite flamboyant, and she turned to me as Venetia went down to the post saying, "I never said goodbye to Mummy. She might never come back." Anyway, not only did she come back, she came back in first place, and that was just a wonderful, wonderful moment. And so I have to, because she's sitting right next to me, say that was my best moment ever in racing.
Well, that's very kind.
It was.
My best moment ever was actually when the Touches won at Ayr. It was a day, we pinched ourselves the whole way home. We just couldn't believe that
we didn't expect any of them to win.
No. We went and we stayed the night before, and we were so nervous. We couldn't eat our supper. And then driving to the racecourse, you know, there was the chat about, do you think another touch will? No, I don't think he will. What about don't touch? Is the ground going to be all right? And we went and walked a bit of the course, and we thought it was okay. But then for the 3 of them to come back, it was amazing. And that was an amazing achievement for Richard and for the whole of Musley Bank. And Tony Hamilton, of course, was on board Don't Touch, which was fantastic.
Now, we've probably gone on too long and overrun our time. So, Chloe, are there any more questions, or do you want to terminate us? Or have you probably terminated us already and we're just talking to ourselves?
Even better.
Chloe, let us know. What would you like us to do?
No, she's not there.
She says, no more questions. Okay. Diane, why don't you say goodbye?
Goodbye to everybody. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine. We've got a glorious day here. I know it's absolutely wonderful. Perfect to get out of the garden. Perfect to go and have a ride. Aren't we lucky?
Lovely. And thank you all very much.
Thank you for listening.
And stay safe, stay healthy. I sound like Boris and I've got my hair looks a bit like his. Stay safe, stay well, and enjoy life. And let's hope spring brings us and summer brings us great happiness. Thank you all very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.